In the early days of World War I, communication was both crucial and fragile. Armies depended on coded messages sent by telegraph and telephone, sometimes crossing hundreds of miles in a matter of minutes. Every word mattered. One wrong letter, one misplaced symbol, could alter the fate of thousands. It was August 1914. Europe was a powder keg on the brink of explosion. Nations were mobilizing, alliances activating, and tensions skyrocketing. The Germans were preparing their massive invasion through Belgium and France, aiming to strike fast and hard. In the midst of this chaos, a telegram was sent, a simple message that carried a critical order. But a tiny typo crept in, a single letter mistaken for another, a word misunderstood. What should have been a clear directive suddenly became ambiguous, confusing, and dangerous. This small error sent ripples through the German high command. The plan's timing was thrown off, units hesitated, and miscommunication spread. As the message scrambled, so did the fate of battles to come. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Allies noticed strange pauses and unexpected movements. Could this be a sign? Or was it just the fog of war? What exactly did that telegram say? How did one typo cause chaos in the largest conflict the world had ever seen? And could it have changed the course of history? Stay with us as we dive deeper into this fascinating and often overlooked story, uncovering how a simple mistake in a telegram almost altered the fate of World War I. After the telegram was sent, the wheels of war began to turn, but not quite as planned. The message, intended for the German army's frontline commanders, contained an order to advance rapidly through Belgium, executing the famous Schlieffen Plan. But thanks to a small typo, a single wrong letter replacing a critical word, the meaning shifted from hold position to hold fire in one crucial sector. This confusion was more than just a linguistic slip. German troops were left uncertain whether to press forward or delay. Communication lines back to Berlin buzzed with frantic attempts to clarify the order. Meanwhile, French and British forces spotted the hesitation and seized the opportunity to regroup and prepare counterattacks. But this was not the only blunder. In an era without instant messaging or secure lines, telegrams were often encoded and then decoded manually. Errors could creep in during any step sending, intercepting, or receiving. In this case, a cipher clerk misread a critical letter, and no one caught it before it was relayed down the chain of command. The Germans were racing against time. Every minute lost meant giving the Allies a chance to fortify. The delay caused by that faulty telegram spread like wildfire. Troops stalled, artillery support faltered, and the momentum of a lightning-fast invasion began to slow. Across the battlefield, commanders grappled with the uncertainty. Should they trust the garbled message, or should they follow their instincts and previous orders? As the confusion mounted, another message arrived, this one from a different source, contradicting the first. Now the German command was caught between conflicting orders, deepening the chaos. Meanwhile, Allied intelligence intercepted some of these communications. Though unaware of the typo itself, they sensed disorder within the German ranks. This tangled web of miscommunication would have consequences far beyond the battlefield. The dominoes were set to fall, but in an unexpected direction. What happened next? How did this confusion reshape one of WWI's pivotal moments? The repercussions of that seemingly minor typo rippled through the battlefield like a storm. German forces, once poised to strike a decisive blow, found themselves mired in uncertainty and hesitation. The front lines, instead of advancing swiftly, became fragmented. As confusion set in, some commanders chose to delay their movements, fearing an ambush or the need for clearer orders. Others pushed forward blindly, leading to isolated pockets of soldiers vulnerable to counterattack. The once synchronized German war machine began to grind to a halt. On the Allied side, British and French forces quickly sensed the disorder. They exploited every gap and hesitation, launching fierce counterattacks that stalled the German advance. What was meant to be a quick campaign to knock France out of the war stretched into a prolonged, bloody stalemate. This delay also gave the British Expeditionary Force precious time to fortify key positions, lay down trenches, and prepare for a war of attrition that would define the Western Front for years. The stalemate that followed shaped the grim realities of WWI: trenches, mud, and unimaginable loss. But it wasn't just the front lines that felt the impact. Back in Berlin, military leaders scrambled to understand what had gone wrong. Attempts to resend corrected orders were hampered by the slow, unreliable communication networks of the time. Meanwhile, morale began to falter. Soldiers, unsure of their orders and witnessing the chaos around them, faced the psychological strain of war's unpredictability. Confusion and fear replaced confidence. Historians argue that this small communication failure shifted the momentum of the war. Had the orders been clear and timely, the German army might have swept through Belgium and France before the Allies could mount a serious defense. Instead, the typo was a critical factor in turning a potential swift victory into a drawn-out conflict that claimed millions of lives and reshaped the world. But the story doesn't end here. While the typo played its part, it was only one piece of a complex puzzle of missteps, intelligence failures, and human error that defined WWI. What were the other mistakes, and how did they intertwine with this fateful error to change history? As the war dragged on, military historians and analysts began to piece together how a series of errors, both small and monumental, converged to create chaos on the battlefield. The infamous telegram typo was just the beginning. Behind the scenes, faulty intelligence reports led commanders to underestimate Allied strength. Misinformation spread quickly, often outpacing verified facts. In the fog of war, confusion became a powerful adversary. Moreover, outdated communication technology amplified the problem. Messages traveled slowly, and misinterpretations were common. The complex hierarchy of command meant that by the time corrected orders reached frontline troops, precious hours, or even days, had slipped away. The human factor also played a significant role. Some commanders, distrustful of the telegrams, made independent decisions that further fractured the unified assault plan. Others struggled with the sheer stress of command under fire, leading to misjudgments and delayed responses. This chain reaction culminated in the bloody quagmire of trench warfare, a war of attrition that neither side had wanted, but both were forced to endure. Interestingly, some historians suggest that this chaos inadvertently set the stage for modern military communications. The catastrophic effects of miscommunication highlighted the urgent need for reliable, fast, and secure methods of transmitting orders, spurring innovation in radio, encryption, and command protocols. But beyond technology and strategy, the human cost was staggering. Thousands of soldiers paid the ultimate price for errors they had no control over. As we reflect on this moment in history, it serves as a stark reminder. In war, even the smallest mistake can have monumental consequences. But what about the soldiers on the ground? How did they experience this confusion? And what lessons did they carry home after the guns finally fell silent? Amidst the cacophony of miscommunication and the fog of war, it was the ordinary soldiers who bore the brunt of the chaos. Letters, diaries, and memoirs reveal a world shattered by confusion, fear, and unimaginable hardship. Private James Callahan, a young infantryman, described how contradictory orders left his unit exposed to enemy fire. One day we were told to advance, the next to hold. By the time the message changed again, we were already pinned down. It felt like no one truly knew what was happening, except the bullets. This disarray wasn't just military. It seeped into the morale and spirit of the troops. Families back home heard conflicting reports, each more confusing than the last. The gulf between the front lines and the home front widened, creating a generation scarred by uncertainty. Yet, amidst the tragedy, seeds of resilience were planted. Soldiers formed bonds of brotherhood, relying on one another when leadership faltered. These shared experiences forged the enduring legends of courage and sacrifice that would shape national identities for decades. The war's communication failures also catalyzed change. Military leaders recognized that effective communication could be a matter of life and death. This realization led to rapid advancements in radio technology, encryption, and more rigorous training in command and control procedures. Beyond the battlefield, the telegram typo became a symbol of the fragility of human systems, a cautionary tale reminding us that even the smallest errors can cascade into monumental consequences. The Great War ultimately changed the world, not just through its battles, but through the lessons learned from its chaos. As we close this chapter of history, we are reminded that behind every strategic decision, behind every historic telegram, there are human lives, lives shaped and sometimes shattered by forces beyond their control. So next time you think of war, remember, it is never just about armies and generals. It is about people. Thank you for joining this journey into a moment when a single typo helped reshape history forever.